Romans 5:12 through 16. Okay. I'm going to be reading from the, I use the Open Bible. I like it, but, just the way it reads. But I also go back and I will tell everybody, anybody that I've always said this, translations, we all try to, we want to be the right vessels for God, but sometimes we get in the way. And translators did that. So we know about these ins, ands, and ats, and aboves, and they all through Romans. Romans is notorious for the writers and the translators trying to help God, so to speak, or not wanting to accurately translate it over to the right language, in the right language, in the right way. But anyway, this is an Open Bible. Which I say that this one sometimes, but not always, you're going to find things that are, like I said, it'll just be one little in or an or at, but that does make a difference. So I do say look at other translations to make sure, verify it against something else. But whatever reads well for you, where you get your understanding, get your understanding. That's the key thing, is to get the understanding. I'm going to read, okay. This one has a subtitle of How Sin Entered into the World. Therefore, just as through one man sin entered into the world, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men, because all sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world. But sin is not imputed when there is no law. Nevertheless, death reigned from Adam until Moses, even over those who had not sinned, in the likeness of the offense of Adam, who is a type of him who was to come. But the free gift is not like the transgression. For if by the transgression of the one the many died, much more did the grace of God and the gift by the grace of the one man, Jesus Christ, abound to the many. And the gift is not like that which came through the one who sinned. For on the one hand, the judgment arose from one transgression, resulting in condemnation. But on the other hand, the free gift arose from many transgressions, resulting in justification. So, if I had to give this a title, I was thinking about how we talked about with one, or have you ever found yourself, or anybody ever been blamed for something that they did not do? Okay, so or say, because a lot of times somebody would say you said something you didn't say. And that happens a lot. Just had to happen to me recently, right? Turn around what you said all the way around. And so what we did, the way we received our beautiful sin gift that puts us in so much turmoil, same way if somebody had told you, you said something you didn't say, or however it goes to the other people, it becomes a big calamity behind the fact, and it starts out in error altogether. And sin came in like that. Eve was deceived. We know she was deceived, and so was Adam, and they did eat. And when they did eat, they brought in all the knowledge of what we had that choice to make all along. We always had the choice to make that, but they brought in that knowledge of being disobedient and suffering all the consequences that come with the disobedience. So we know that sin sin was there in the Garden of Eden, but it was protected away from them, and they were instructed not to eat of. And they did. And when they did, they brought in junk. Now another thing, I'm talking about some junk for a minute. I just live like real life. How many people have kitchen drawers with the junk drawer? Junk drawer in the kitchen drawer. Okay, there you go. We always got a junk drawer. Why? Because we like to hold on to crap. We do. We hold on to a lot of. It'd be about 4 or 5 screws. You never need it, and you put them screws in that junk drawer. Yeah. And for whatever reason, we just will not let it go. So when we talk about like sin coming into the world, sin coming in by Adam, we just got it. Just like I said, you can get a gift that you just cannot use. Or the stuff that's in the junk drawer, so to speak. Because there's always something in there. And then when we try to find one little use out of it, we be so happy. That's how we act with sin too. Because when we get to the point where it looked good, it felt good, it was just something that I can justify today, And that's where we are with, like, so that particular gift, as that passage said, that came unto us that we didn't get. Like, just like about somebody saying you said something you didn't say, did something you didn't do. You got to hold on to that until you can be justified.
That's right.
Now, that's where I'm going somewhere with this, but you got to be justified. And the only way, you can't be justified, like, they say, well, Einstein said you cannot solve a problem on the same level. You never can solve the problem on the same level. So if there's a problem, and it's like when we're dealing with stuff like somebody said something that I said something that I didn't say. To mediate that thing out, we can keep going back and forth, or I can say it and I'm trying to fix it for myself. I cannot clean up something that I didn't initiate or I didn't, originate. And no matter how much I try to talk to somebody about it and tell them, I didn't say this or I didn't do that, we pinned with that because it's just not we're on the same level with the thing that happened, And the only way it can be solved is we have to go to a higher level or use more wisdom, bring in more people in, or like I say, safety among counsel. That's what the Bible says. There's safety in the number of counsel. So the number equates to the many when he talks about, like when Jesus came in, it says in verse 16 here, it says, and the gift is not like that which came through the one who sinned. For on the one hand, the judgment arose from one transgression, resulting in condemnation. But on the other hand, the free gift arose from many transgressions, resulting in justification. So that many transgressions, God took us to a series, like when Adam fell, he had a plan for us all along that he was going to just wipe all of this out. But he wanted to take the many. Like he said, he took the many. We had to even get a taste of really, like, before you literally go clean out that junk drawer, you want to go look through everything and make sure I'm not throwing away the wrong thing. So God kind of, when he brought us, when he said, I'm going to justify you and I'm going to redeem the transgressions, I want to redeem so much that you really, really know beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because before, when Adam and Eve was in the garden, they had the choice all along, and they had the perfect union with God.
That's right.
So when he came in to wipe away, when Jesus came in to wipe away all our transgressions, he had to let something build up, because we wouldn't have, no way could we understand the justification of what he was doing if it would have been taken care of right there at the garden when it happened, which God could have did that,
Saved them and that was it.
Right, if it would have happened like that, we would have never appreciated. Right. Just like I said, if you were going through your mess and you start looking, you can appreciate what it is, or even start to come to a place where I am getting a little more, I'm more mature, or I'm reasoning better. What do I need with these 15 screws that they just give you extra with the furniture or whatever, and you got it, you know what I mean? But then your wisdom comes in, and that's like it's like you're looking at the many now, and you're saying, why do I need all that? What do I need with all that? And that was with the sin that I think compiled on what happened when Adam took the gift. And he said this gift that he blessed us with, which was nothing that was a blessing. But nothing but, like I said, but we have to be justified from, we had to be redeemed from it, and we needed help. And that help wasn't coming from another man like Adam. Right. And that's where it says the other man, the other one, on the other hand, he was God. And we've learned Jesus was 100% God and 100% man. So he could only be on that level. He had to be on the level to be able to link us to him in all shapes and form, and then at the same time be God enough to cover this whole thing and just wipe it all out. And so anyway, I wanted to talk about, like, okay, so we got the one problem. We say, now one problem, say now this is what I'm saying. Say we got, on one hand, you got one man that gave us gifts that we didn't want, we didn't need, and we just got it. We inherited it. Yeah. And sometimes we had to figure out what is that we inherited. We inherited a sin nature. And a sin nature is just, that's what I said. That's why we still go back to that drawer and try to find junk and figure out how to justify it when we still can't. I mean, like a bread twist tie that I'm being honest. I know I'm not the only one. I've been living a long enough time. A bread twist tie, and we will put them things in cans and in drawers, and for whatever reason. But now, I was so happy one year, my oldest son, he's artistic, really, and artistic in his own way. But he went and he used to make these little twist tie dolls. He made them when he did. I was like, well, that's a use. whatever he just had junk down in his room, and I want to be so happy that I got a reason for why I leave junk. I keep junk, you know. And I think that's what we do. Like I said, with sin, when we try to justify the sin that we're dealing with, anything. And sin is anything that separates us from the love of God, the full understanding of Him, and walking in unity with Him. That's anything. Anything and everything. And the way we deal with that, we got to go to God's Word. He's the manufacturer. He's the only one that can help us. This is the higher place too. So when we look at, you can't solve a problem on the same level. How do you solve the problem? You got to go to the manufacturer. When you want to go to the manufacturer, He is the manufacturer, and God will show us in His Word how to deal with every and any situation in our life. So if we did have to sort all the sins out or lay them all out and say, okay, why am I using this? Why am I not? I don't need this anymore. Why is it there? Okay, it's a broken screwdriver, but I just don't want to let it go, and I got 10 other ones, you know. But for whatever reason, I got a broken handle screwdriver, and I don't know. Like I said, me and tools, it's the same thing. Trust me, I got a couple of bent hammers that you say, why not let it go? You use it, you can, and you want to justify, but you know you bought like another one to replace it, but you're like, okay, I'm keeping it. I don't know why. And but anyway, I equate all that to the sin that we have so much hard time. It's not about a battle going on inside of us. It's just about us wanting to hold on to junk that was given to us. From where? Where you get it from? Like, you can be one of them gifts. You know, where this come from? I don't even know. I can't use it, but I don't want to let it go because it just becomes endearing to me because I have it. So that's, I think, the way we take ownership on. Like I said, if we come from mean folks, we stay mean because they was mean, and then and it's endearing to us because they was mean. Or if we self-righteous folks, we come from self-righteous folks. We bring in a whole lot of stuff that just we hold on to like it's ours. And we won't let it go. But is it the persona of Christ? Is it really what we decided to take on when we said we believe this man that can save us? We believe in this man that can save us. This man that is God. You know, that we believe this. And then when we start to say that, we have to realize, okay, so where do we, I don't know, how do we put value on stuff that we want to hold on to the sin nature? And we do put value on it because we turn around and we think like I said, just something stupid about, like, if you can remember where it came from. If it is that grandmother that, like I said, gave you some real bad stuff, but somebody gave her some real bad stuff, and somebody gave them some real bad stuff. And we get some value on it when we start connecting it to things that hold on to emotional tracks in our mind. But we also, I want to say, in Romans 12, 1 and 2, and if y'all want to write these down, but this is my favorite, you know, and a lot of people hold these. These are verses, and I always use verses that are called strongholds in my word. All right. And they call them, that's my strongholds, like you hold on to the strap in the car when somebody turning too fast. You better get your stronghold and be able to have it in your mind. And this one says, I beseech you, brethren, by the mercies of God, you know, to present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to Him, which is your reasonable service. And these things, he said, but then what you have to do is be not conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Right? So as we start to renew the mind, what we're going to have to do is start to run new tracks over the old tracks that has something to do with why I emotionally hang on to things that I know. That I know I have the power to let go of. I have the power to take and dump the whole junk drawer out of my kitchen in the trash. But I will make just reasons why that trash, it's not going in the trash today. You know, and we do that with the sin in our life. I will make reasons for why that is not going in the trash today. Not that, and when we're looking at God's pleasing and perfect will in that verse, because at the end that's where it wraps up and says we're looking for how we walk in that perfect will of God. And that perfect will of God, it's not a whole lot of being chained down to laws, because just like we read in the other part, it says therefore, it says, until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed where there is no law. Right. So because we've been made free, there's no law of sin on us anymore. So we don't deal with I must do it this way and I must do it. Not to be in the will of God, you don't. You just have to be in that place of believing who He is and knowing that He already redeemed you. Now all you got to do is make some decisions. Yes. make some decisions, and that's all. And the decisions become when you say, now I got to renew my mind. Why do I have to renew my mind? Because he saved the old mind. He saved that other one. The other one, in the way he saved it, it's done away with. It's like equivalent to when you start deciding to clean your house, whatever you want to clean up, that's leaving things around that you know needs to be done away with. And when you make up your mind, it's not law. It's nothing like law that's holding you down. It's the realization that one man bought something and gave you something, and another man who was 100% God as well.
That's right.
Wipe the slate clean, and I don't even have to keep it. I really don't have to. But like I said, the things that make us be endeared to that, and that would be one of our problems, because we can go either way with that. Because some people could say, you can have people that would say, okay, I don't know, like, okay, I'm endeared to this thing, but at the same time, I don't know, I find it almost impossible to let things go, like, just because I think I'm all right with that. I'm okay. It didn't bother me. And then another one would be thinking, like, on the opposite end, they self-judging and self-condemning, and, oh, my God, I can't do enough, I can't be right enough for God, and you can go the other way with that. But then at the same time, so you're looking at, you can say, to somebody on the contract can say, well, okay, I'm trying to fix this myself. Like when people would say, I can't come to church till I get straight. Now, it's like beating the air. It's beating the air. So that's the one that's over there saying, I'll do all this. I'll get it straight. And there may be people that don't, like, all in all, just feel like I follow all the laws of the land. I am, and I'm an upstanding citizen, and I do this, and I don't cuss, I don't smoke, I don't drink, don't do all these other things. Not sexual, immoral, or nothing like that. So then you figure, but then they start beating at the air, trying to fix themselves. When they was visited upon, when he says all of us have sinned. And the way we have sinned, even when, and then it says in here, even when they haven't done it themselves. That's right. Or they can't imagine that they've done it themselves. They already imputed with it. You were imputed with the same thing that I was imputed with. That's right. And then now when we understand that, but the whole miracle of God is the imputation of righteousness. Because when he said, now I credit you with righteousness. And when I credit you with righteousness, you just like you didn't do anything to get that other one, you didn't do it, and you don't have to do anything to get this other than be. Let me do it. That's right. And I'm one that and I was talking to somebody one day, and I said, well, not that I believe in the law, and I come from fundamentalist background, so that's just it. Like, cause I guess if somebody was preaching up here and they come from Pentecostal, they're going to bring what they come from. I come from a fundamentalist background, so it's not law.
Which means what?
That's what I'm going to say. It's not law, but it teaches me steps, and sometimes steps work for some people. If it works, let it work. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't beat up on somebody using a law, like if they just use an acronym and it helps them remember things. Because I know going to school now, they taught us how you learn the capital or the capitals of each state by, Missouri, like Haley's MO, or, you had to figure it out your way, but the way they taught me to learn. So when I went into fundamental, I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool, because when, I learned something about how to control myself, like when I know that I'm walking out of God's perfect will for me. Not for everybody, but I say if I'm getting too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired. That's just one of my acronyms. It spells the word halt. But when I think halt, I done got too hungry, too angry, too lonely, or too tired. And I need to, and I might have already done it. Because like I work with youth, and this is my job. I work with youth, and sometimes I may give them an example like, you probably already going to do or already done what I'm saying you're going to do. But just after you out there, and there's a life preserver, but after you out there, think about it. Just think, because that's where God would have us to do. Use this mind and renew it, and think and regenerate it, and don't just be out there like, oh, it's over. But a lot of us are like that, because I was going to say, now you had the one people that's going to fix themselves, then you have the other people. Oh, well, if I'm all sinner, then I'm just going to be all the way. I'm all, and like I said, and I was going to say about when people have talked about you or done something that said that you did things you didn't do. There was the opposite side of that where people would, accept it and act in it. That's right. Is that true? Somebody feels something, oh, you said something about me. You let it go and just go ahead and follow suit. Why? Because that's the person you are, and that's where you are with how you receive Something like that. And then somebody else say, well, I'm going to fix myself since they telling me that, okay, the sin was on me. I'm going to fix it. But you can't. You can't. Yeah. And then, like I said, then the other one's like, well, I don't care then if that's the sin that's on me.
That's right. And people like that.
Yeah, they do. I mean, like if they did something, or somebody said, like oh, you did something to me, and next thing you know, right. And I was like that, like I said, because we come up with as kids. Mm-hmm. Your mother said she's going to whoop you. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and do it all the way, because you might as well, because I'm going to get whooped.
It's coming.
And my mind is like, ain't no sense in me worrying about it. Let me just walk in there. But what that does, we become self-fulfilled prophecies. Yeah. We prophesize over ourselves. Because we'll walk in stuff that wasn't even for us. We just take it. And that's what we do with the whole sin nature from Adam. Oh, but they keep saying we sinners, and I walk around and just be the sinner that they say I'm going to be. You know, or I am, or whatever. And now but thank God that for the grace that we're under here in this ministry, because we hear grace. And grace don't say you're a sinner. So now you got to stop. You got to take that switch and switch it off. I am not a sinner. I am not a sinner. And I am the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. You know, so if I know this, then I can walk with that. And then so my thing is like depending on God and thinking about letting Him clean the thing up. You can't clean it up, and don't try to walk the other way to let it just be all right. Then okay, since we're sinners, we're just sinners. Because then we know those people, because they come to church and, oh, God was still working on me. He ain't finished with me yet. I'm doing all this, and you know God's still working on me. Right. Because they have bought into, I'm a sinner. They bought into it, and they like, well, okay, that's where I am. But then, like I said, then you have some that will sit back and say, well, they just, and then you know better if you sit back and judge them on the fact that they're like that. All you can say is, okay, now, if I'm judging them, I'm not showing them no grace. I'm not showing no grace, because if I'm judging them and saying, oh, okay, they just going to sin all up in church. You know, like, well, but if I start judging them, then I'm no better than they are in the sense of my understanding of what grace is. But my other I have enough, like I always said, I learn from acronyms, I learn from steps, and it was one that I used to do, and I practiced so that I could learn to let God have things when I'm trying to hold on to something. Because I was talking about letting things go. It was 7 words that I used to say. And I like now that I'm in grace, because I used to always say, He will do it for you, Iris. And each time, I would do it 7 times. And every time, and I would write it out. Now, either you could write it out, and there was 2 different ways of doing it. You could either write it out, or you could say it. And when you say it, each time you put your name in that 7th place, you emphasize each word. But by the time you do this little exercise, God really did take something, and He can just take it right there. I mean, and this is in the middle of temptation. Like if you really feeling like you're so tempted, and then you think, somebody taught me something. It's just a little thing. But like I said, just like with the things with the kids learn in school, how to either I before E, except after C, the way you figure things out. But I'm just saying, you figure this out like with how we learn the capitals of the state, Haley's MO, or however we figure something out. But it's the easy way. But what happens is up here we got something called we do heuristic learning. Just like the learning track has to come in some kind of way, and the easiest way it can come in for you to rewrite the track in your mind is to get some other learning tracks going on in your mind. So that one, He will do it for you. Blank, put your name in. But He, who is He? And if you just stop and dissect the whole 7 words, you'd be like, wow, He will. But instead of now that we're in grace, and I would say He has done it for you, Iris. And now I would say He has done it for me. Before I can get real crazy, like, oh my God, this is going on. He has done it for you, Iris. Who has done it? He has.
That's right.
He has done it for me. He has. He has done it for me. And then that's when I keep going on. And like I said, and as I go through, but I've written them out before, and then make that one word the capital, then the next word the capital. You get finished saying that 7 times. That's what I said. But it's just little things. And I don't count that as law. That's what I was trying to explain to you. Like I said, I'm from fundamentalist background, but it's just some steps. They're not the 12 steps. It's just some things on learning and teaching me how to renew my mind.
That's right.
And get this thing without walking around without understanding, and you still don't know. But you worshiping every week and you still don't know. You know what I mean? So when you want to know, you have to figure another way to learn sometimes. And memorization, I do believe in that too. Like I say, because I'll tell somebody in a minute. The best temptation verse, I think, in the whole Bible is 1 Corinthians 10 and 13.
Because he says no man. And we always get stuck up when we the only one. We are not the only one going through something. And I think I played with that verse so many times, so many ways. And I'm standing here trying to buy a pack of cigarettes one day in a line in a supermarket. And I'll never forget. That verse is coming to me.
Yeah.
And then when I realized I hadn't totally memorized it yet, I was like, let me not buy this pack of cigarettes. But it was right in the time, because just like at the part where I got to where he says that, but I'm faithful.
Yes.
In that same temptation, and I turned around and wasn't one of my church members right behind me. You know how they say, but he's unfaithful. But my mind was going on that I couldn't remember it, and it started to be a challenge for me.
That's right.
And I'm like, I cannot. But the thing that the devil wants to do is get in there. If he got some blank time with you and watching these TV shows, and if he got some blank time with you, he's going to be all up in your mind.
Yeah, that's right.
And he will stop you from doing things like that. So that is, to me, that heroism type learning is when you're saying, why can't I? Especially when he wants to get in this, and you got to deal with him a little bit, because when you go to try to remember it, look at the word that he's not letting you remember. Look at the one part of that scripture that he is not letting you remember.
That's right.
Why? And then you got to go in. And you got to go in and say, oh no, I'm going to know why.
That's right.
I get stuck right here where it said God will do something.
That's right.
Or I get stuck right here at the part where it said he was faithful.
That's right. Come on.
Or where I should submit.
That's right.
Or what I should be doing. You know what I mean? Because that's when you get stuck, recognize where it is. It's right at that place. And that's the place where the devil lives. But at the same time, we want to, the sin comes up in, and the devil was there in the Garden of Eden, and we know he introduced this to Adam and Eve, and they did eat, and they did bring it in. But now we know that it's just something that we actually have control over now. It was entered in by somebody else. It wasn't us. Just like somebody lied on you, you don't have to receive it. You do not have to receive it. From the moment you recognize that you are trying to take ownership on a junk drawer, just say, no, I got to dump this thing. I got to dump this thing. It's just a bunch of junk. And I just keep holding on to junk for whatever reason. It's not mine to keep no more, because he gave me something. He said, I really want you to clean that out. Because when you clean that out, then you got room for all the other things. That he said, because when you faithful, and they're faithful with his word, with his life in you, he says, then you can receive the true riches. Thank you.
That's all right.